One of the all-time greatest mushroom soups I've ever had today, Zuppa di Funghi. This is a traditional Italian mushroom soup, and if you are a mushroom hunter and you have dried mushrooms like I do, this is one of the best things I've made with a variety of dried mushrooms. You can see in this one, I was able to fit 12 different types in there. You'll need about 1.5 ounces, but I have proportions for fresh and dried mushrooms in the recipe on my website. You're going to start out by rehydrating a whole bunch of mushrooms. Like I said, this is the perfect place to use dried mushrooms. I'm going to rehydrate them in some stock, but the first version I made, I just used water, and it was incredible just made with water. There's a lot of power in dried mushrooms, so let those hydrate. The other key is building a really good flavor base with a bunch of onions. I'm using onions, garlic, shallot, and leek, and I'm going to chop them in a food processor because my favorite version of this is not pureed, but you can puree it. So for my favorite version, we're going to have everything finely minced. And every version of this that's traditional uses potatoes to thicken it. Some of them use riced potatoes at the end, which gives you less potato starch, so it doesn't get kind of gloppy or extra thick at all. That version works too. It's a lot easier to just put the potatoes in, so I'm just going to add finely diced potatoes, and it adds a really nice texture if you leave the soup rustic and don't puree it. So I'm just going to cut those into about 1/4 inch dice. Then I'm going to take all the dried mushrooms, and we're going to chop these by hand. You don't want to do that in a food processor because it could make them stringy. You're just going to mince them up really nice and fine. Really nice and fine. And like I said, you can use fresh mushrooms too. You can grind those in a food processor or roast them. Then we're going to start cooking the flavor base here. And you really want to take your time doing this. Like, I cooked the flavorful base of all these vegetables for at least a good 15 minutes until they're really nice and soft. Then I'll add the dried chopped mushrooms, and I'll add the potatoes, mix that around, and then you're going to cook this on medium low heat until the potatoes get a little bit translucent. Then we're going to add a little bit of oil if the pan gets dry. Then we're going to make sure to add a little bit of tomato paste, not a lot, about 2 teaspoons is all you need. It shouldn't be tomato-y, but a little bit really makes a big difference. Add some herbs, a little bit of sherry there. And traditionally, this is made with an herb called Nepitella. It's kind of like catmint. And look at the dried mushrooms there. See, I do not add the last of the liquid because you can see dirt in there. So you can puree this, or like I said, you can serve it rustic. It's good either way. It's really versatile. There's a little sour cream, some fried mushroom croutons. Chives are wonderful on this. There's also a version I used to serve in my first restaurant that I'll show you here. That's the one. I used to make that with dried slippery jacks, actually. And that one's got a lot of cream in it. You can add cream too. But my favorite versions, that's a version called minestrone, just with fried croutons. And then pasta is my favorite. Little tiny pasta with some Parmesan cheese. I hope I got you inspired to try some mushroom soup. Thanks for watching.